Death Star's Superlaser rewrote the laws of destruction, turning entire worlds into cosmic graveyards in seconds. On Jedha, its Superlaser vaporized the Holy City instantly, while ejecting 1/5 of the moon's mass into orbit, creating molten rivers that permanently scarred the landscape like cosmic lava flows. On Scarif, the tropical paradise became a boiling hellscape as oceans vaporized into superheated steam. And on Alderaan, 2 billion voices cried out in terror before falling silent forever, their deaths rippling through the Force itself, like a wound that would never heal. These were destructions that challenged the very concept of mercy, obliterations on a scale the galaxy had never witnessed before, which was equivalent to thousands of natural disasters happening simultaneously across an entire world. The morning of destruction began like any other. The ancient holy city stirred awake as it had for thousands of years. Pilgrims walked the narrow streets towards sacred temples while merchants set up market stalls. Children ran through alleyways playing games of chase between Imperial patrol routes. The scent of spiced teas and freshly baked flatbreads filled the air as vendors called out their wares. Chirrut Imwe walked through the temple district, his staff tapping against ancient stones as he felt the force flowing through the kyber crystals embedded in the walls. The blind guardian of the wills had sensed disturbance in recent days. Imperial mining operations stripping away sacred crystals, stormtroopers desecrating holy sites. His weathered face turned skyward as an unnatural shadow began to fall across the city. Baze Malbus crouched on a rooftop overlooking the marketplace, his heavy repeater blaster trained on Imperial patrols below. The former Guardian watched stormtroopers abandon their posts without explanation. Military transports lifted off from landing pads in hasty retreat. His scarred hands tightened around his weapon as he scanned the skies, recognizing the signs of impending catastrophe. Jyn Erso moved through the crowded streets with Cassian Andor, both disguised among the pilgrims and merchants. They had come seeking Saw Gerrera, unaware they were walking into the Empire's first demonstration of ultimate power. The Death Star's approach cast an unnatural eclipse across the Holy City, but life continued in the remaining sunlit sections. What initially appeared as a small moon gradually revealed its mechanical surface. The Death Star positioned itself with mechanical precision above Jedha's sacred landscape. Saw Gerrera crouched in the ruins of an ancient temple, watching Imperial mining operations strip away layers of crystal-rich stone. The partisan leader's cybernetic breathing apparatus wheezed as he observed the systematic desecration. Each extracted crystal would feed the Empire's war machine, but the largest specimens, those were destined for something far worse. The irony wasn't lost on him. The Jedi had used these same crystals to create weapons of peace and protection. But now the Empire perverted that sacred bond, forcing the crystals to channel hatred and destruction. Deep within the battle station's core, a hypermatter reactor generated power equivalent to multiple main sequence stars, feeding energy to 8 tributary laser stations arranged in a perfect circle. Each tributary laser housed massive kyber crystals torn from Jedi temples across the galaxy. These sacred stones, once colorless and pure, had been corrupted through dark side alchemy until they pulsed with sickly green light. Imperial scientists had discovered that flooding the crystals with negative force energy didn't just weaponize them, it fundamentally altered their molecular structure at the quantum level. At the same time, Director Krennic's voice echoed across the Death Star's bridge.
Target Jedha City. Prepare single reactor ignition.
The Superlaser's massive dish began to rotate, each tributary station locking into place with flawless coordination. In moments, all that energy, enough to rival the heart of a star, would converge into a single beam, racing across space at near light speed. Back on Jedha, Chirrut paused mid-step in the temple courtyard, his head tilting toward the sky as the Force shuddered through him. He knew something was heavy and wrong. The kyber crystals embedded in the walls began to wail, their resonance turning sharp and painful as if the planet itself were crying out. He didn't need sight to understand what was coming. Even the light of the Force was starting to burn. The beam struck with catastrophic force. The ancient stone structures that had withstood millennia crumbled instantly as the searing energy vaporized everything it touched. Flesh, stone, metal, leaving nothing but superheated particles where life had existed moments before. The blast penetrated deep into Jedha's crust in microseconds, reaching the mantle and exposing the moon's molten core. Jin, Cassian, Chirrut, and Baze barely escaped the city's destruction, their transport racing ahead of the expanding shockwave that moved at supersonic speeds. Behind them, the impact created vast lava oceans across Jedha's surface, as the blast ejected approximately 20% of the moon's mass into orbit, forming a permanent debris ring that would circle the system for eternity. The holy city that had stood for millennia was gone in seconds, reduced to cosmic dust and molten rock. Jedha became the Death Star's first sacrifice, its destruction merely a test of the Empire's ultimate weapon. Scarif represented the Empire's idea of paradise, a remote tropical world where turquoise waters lapped against pristine white beaches. Imperial walkers stalked across white sand, while palm trees swayed in the background. The contrast was jarring. Paradise and war occupying the same space at the same time. These same beaches became the setting for one of the most desperate battles in the early rebellion. The Rogue One team had infiltrated the Imperial archives. K2 accompanied Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor into the Citadel Tower. His reprogrammed Imperial droid chassis provided perfect cover among the facility's automated systems. Inside the data vault, K sliced into the Imperial archives, his movements sharp and deliberate. Alarms screamed through the corridors as stormtroopers closed in. Blaster fire erupted, lighting the chamber in flashes of red. K turned to face them, laying down covering fire desperately, buying Jyn the seconds she needed. Sparks burst across his frame as bolts tore through his armor. He staggered, still firing, still protecting her. And when his voice finally fell silent, the vault echoed with the sound of a droid who had found purpose in his final act.
K! Goodbye!
On the beaches below, Chirrut Imwe walked across the battlefield with serene determination. His staff struck down stormtroopers as he chanted his mantra. Blaster bolts seemed to bend around him, guided by something greater than sight. Ahead, the master switch gleamed through the haze, the key to lowering the shield and transmitting the Death Star plans. Each step carried the weight of the rebellion's hope, and every breath brought him closer to destiny.
I'm one with the Force is with me, and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
Blaster bolts carved through the dust, missing by inches as if the Force itself bent their path. He reached the panel, his hands gliding across the controls until the master switch clicked into place. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent. Then came the explosion. The Death Trooper's shots tore through the console, and the blast consumed him in light and fire. But his mission was done. Baze Malbus watched his oldest friend fall. Rage and grief overwhelmed his practical nature. The former Guardian abandoned cover, his heavy repeater blaster mowing down the Death Troopers who had killed Chirrut.
The Force is with me. I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me.
The first time he had spoken those words in years. Moments later, an Imperial grenade ended his life. But not before he had avenged his friend. High above the battle, Jyn climbed the Citadel Tower's communication array. The Death Star plans clutched in her hands. She aligned the transmission dish and inserted the data tape into the console. Director Krennic confronted her at the platform. She revealed herself as Jyn Erso, daughter of Galen.
Who are you?
I'm Jyn Erso, daughter of Galen and Lyra.
She spoke of her father's revenge, the fatal flaw built into the Death Star. Krennic dismissed her defiance. The shield was still active. Her signal would never reach the rebel base. Before he could execute her, Cassian emerged. He shot Krennic in the shoulder, sending the director crashing to the platform. Jyn successfully transmitted the Death Star plans to the rebel fleet above. The Death Star emerged above Scarif's shield gate. Wounded, Krennic looked skyward at his creation, the culmination of his life's work, as its Superlaser began to charge, bathing the horizon in an eerie green glow. Meanwhile, Jyn and Cassian made their way to the beach, both knowing escape was impossible. The Superlaser fired, an emerald beam carving through the Citadel Tower, and deep into Scarif's crust with machine-perfect accuracy. The horizon brightened to blinding intensity. The ocean boiled instantly, releasing massive steam clouds that rose higher than Imperial installations. The supersonic shockwave flattened everything in its path. Palm trees snapped like twigs. Imperial facilities collapsed. The air temperature rose hundreds of degrees within seconds. They sat together on the sand as the wall of light approached. The water receded before the shockwave. In their final moments, they embraced as the destruction consumed everything.
Your father would have been proud of you, Jin.
Their sacrifice had succeeded. The Death Star plans were away. They were heroes who had saved the galaxy with their lives. Unlike Jedha and Scarif, Alderaan received no warning. No test shot, no partial destruction. The entire planet faced annihilation without a single resident knowing their fate until the final moments. On that last morning, 2 billion people woke up, made breakfast, kissed loved ones goodbye, and went about their day completely unaware of what approached from the darkness of space. In the royal palace of Alderaan, Queen Breha Organa reviewed diplomatic correspondence in her private study. The elegant monarch had spent decades working for peace. Her morning routine included reviewing refugee assistance programs and cultural exchange initiatives, the work of a lifetime dedicated to making the galaxy a better place. Senator Bail Organa sat beside her, reviewing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The former viceroy had been working to unite scattered rebel cells into a formal alliance. Neither he nor his wife knew that their adopted daughter was already a prisoner aboard the Empire's ultimate weapon. In the capital city's university district, students gathered in sunlit courtyards. They discussed philosophy and art. Children played in parks designed around Alderaan's natural beauty. Their laughter echoed off fountains shaped like the planet's native sea creatures. The ordinary moments carried haunting weight, suspended in time's final embrace. Meanwhile, Princess Leia Organa stood shackled in the Death Star's detention center, her white senatorial robes torn from Imperial interrogation. She had endured torture by Darth Vader himself, but Leia's defiance remained unbroken. Grand Moff Tarkin stood motionless on the Death Star's command bridge, his gaunt reflection ghost-like in the viewport as Alderaan rotated peacefully below. The planet's blue-green surface sparkled with city lights, each point representing thousands of lives about to be extinguished. Princess Leia was escorted to the observation deck under heavy guard, forced to watch as her homeworld filled the viewport. Below, her adoptive parents continued their morning routines, unaware that their daughter was watching from the weapon that would destroy them. Tarkin demanded the location of the rebel base, and Leia whispered, "Dantooine," her voice breaking as she tried to save her world.
I grow tired of asking this, so it'll be the last time. Where is the rebel base?
Dantooine.
Dantooine is too remote to make an effective demonstration, Tarkin replied coldly.
Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
The Superlaser's focusing dish aligned with mechanical precision. All 8 tributary stations fired simultaneously at maximum power. The hypermatter reactor channeled energy equivalent to multiple stellar cores into a single, coherent beam of destruction. When the weapon fired, it didn't simply destroy Alderaan. It fundamentally altered the matter it touched. The beam's exotic energy broke down atomic bonds at the quantum level, converting the entire planet into superheated plasma in microseconds. On Alderaan's surface, Queen Breha looked up from her correspondence as impossible light filled the sky. In that final instant, she thought of her daughter. Senator Bail Organa felt the same desperate love for his family as the light consumed everything. From the Death Star's observation deck, Princess Leia watched her homeworld crack apart like an eggshell. The planet's surface opened like a flower of destruction, revealing the molten interior before the entire world came apart. 2 billion voices cried out in terror before falling silent forever. Across the galaxy, Obi-Wan Kenobi staggered in his desert cave. Overwhelmed by the sudden silencing of billions of voices, the death of Alderaan resonated through the Force itself, leaving an emptiness that would never be filled.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
The Death Star's devastation reshaped galactic perceptions of the Empire forever. What was designed as a tool of fear became the Empire's fatal miscalculation. Each destroyed world sparked resistance rather than submission. Jedha, Scarif, Alderaan. Alderaan's obliteration triggered a tidal wave of Imperial defections. Thousands abandoned their posts to join rebel forces. The weapon that was meant to crush rebellion through fear had instead united every enemy of Palpatine's regime. On Yavin 4, the stolen Death Star plans revealed a critical weakness. The thermal exhaust port Galen Erso had built into the reactor system, a target only 2 meters wide, but it led directly to the station's core. General John Dodonna studied the technical readouts with desperate intensity. His weathered face traced the station's defensive systems, searching for hope in impossible odds. The briefing room fell silent as he explained the approach. Pilots would have to maneuver straight down a heavily defended trench, skim the surface under concentrated fire, and target an exhaust port 2 meters wide. In the hangar bay, Rebel pilots prepared for what many knew would be their final mission. X-Wing fighters received last-minute modifications, astromech droids ran final diagnostics, mechanics worked with desperate efficiency, knowing that every second brought the Death Star closer to Yavin 4. Luke Skywalker climbed into his X-Wing cockpit, R2-D2 whistling nervously behind him. The farm boy from Tatooine had never faced anything like this. Imperial ace pilots, Darth Vader himself, a space station that could vaporize planets. But Obi-Wan's voice echoed in his memory. The Force would be his guide when technology failed, when targeting computers couldn't make the impossible shot, when hope seemed lost in the darkness of space. The Death Star's Superlaser had rewritten the rules of galactic warfare, but it had also forged the very rebellion that would destroy it. From Jedha's sacred crystals to Scarif's tropical paradise, to Alderaan's peaceful cities, the weapon had proven that some lines should never be crossed. As Rebel fighters launched into the void, the Death Star's green glow awaited them. The Empire's ultimate weapon faced its greatest test. Not against defenseless worlds, but against those who refused to surrender to tyranny. We really hope you enjoyed this journey through the Death Star's reign of terror. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the galaxy's darkest stories and untold legends. Until next time, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.